one of the reasons why I'm just bullish generally on Alberta, and maybe this is a good time to transition to that.
Perfect.
If you give me some leeway to kind of run with this,
please. I've got to get some popcorn and I got a cup of coffee because I want to hear about what's going on in Alberta here.
Well, I think sometimes you don't need to overthink things, right? I mean, here we are. You can buy real estate in Alberta today still for the same price that you could in 2007, right? There is nowhere else in the country where the carrying costs of a single family home is lower today than it was 15 years ago, except for Alberta. And so from an affordability perspective, every other part of the every part of the country has gone up and Alberta has gone down in terms of the carrying costs. So it's gotten dramatically more affordable. Now, if you layer on top of that, like the economic outlook, I think is great in Alberta. For one thing, I mean, it's easy to say with oil today at $93, but I've been saying this since it was in the 20s, is this idea that we're going to transition easily and quickly away from hydrocarbons is just ludicrous. We are going to be needing oil we're probably going to see demand growth for oil for at least another 10 years. We will both be using hydrocarbons extensively for the rest of our lives. And so, yes, we're going to see a move towards electric vehicles, and yes, there's a push towards decarbonization. I'm 100% for it, but the path function matters immensely. We're just not going to move away from hydrocarbons. So this idea that the hydrocarbon industry, oil is dead, was always ridiculous to me. But even if that's the case, let's assume that is the case. Where else can you move and find ultra cheap office space for a startup and ultra cheap property taxes, just general taxes, and ultra cheap housing for your employees? There's no other world-class city that has that. There's a saying that the cure for low prices is low prices. And if you make things affordable enough, it'll create its own demand and you'll see a booming industry. And so, I've got a good friend of mine who sits on an advisory board for the city of Calgary around tech startups. And he said it's absolutely booming right now. And I believe it. It can't help but boom when you've got startup costs that are that inexpensive. And so, then you take a step back and say, well, what are the concrete dynamics that we're seeing? Well, population growth is a big one. And I know you like to focus on population growth. And so what I see are sort of two things. One is for the first time since the oil price crashed in, call it 2014, 2015, Alberta is now a net recipient of people coming to the province from other provinces. For a long time, there was losing people on a net basis. Some people were coming, a lot of people were leaving. We get these great population estimates in the labor force survey every month. And it gives you a sense of how Stats Canada is thinking about population growth in various provinces. And when I look at Alberta, we're seeing their estimates of population growth at the highest that they've been since 2014 over the last 3 months. And so it's telling me that they're seeing population growth returning. And that just intuitively makes sense to me. And so you got population growth coming. The resale market is incredible in that it's like quietly put in a record year for sales. You've got inventory that's about 30% below where it was a year ago. And it's been cut by almost in half from where it was 5 years ago. When you look at it on like a supply demand basis, like what I call I don't call it. It's called months of inventory, right? The idea there is if you had 100 homes for sale and 20 of them sold in the most recent month, you would say you've got 5 months inventory. Take 5 months to sell those homes. So that's like a key metric for measuring kind of supply-demand balance in a market. And right now in Alberta, months of inventory are the lowest they've been since 2007. And so another way to think about it is the last time that months of inventory was this low in Alberta, prices in Calgary were rising 30% a year. And in Edmonton, they were rising 40% a year. And right now, you're less than a quarter of that. You throw all this together, you look at prices in Calgary. Most people don't believe this, but for most of Calgary's history, the prices in Calgary traded a premium to the national average. And today, they traded a substantial discount, but they traded only about 60% of the national average. My view, there it is right there. And so my view is that Calgary is going to trade back in line with the national average. And so whatever you think is going to happen to house prices nationally, if house prices go up 10%, next year, I think Calgary goes up 15 or whatever. If you think prices nationally are going to fall 10%, Calgary might be flat, but it's going to make up that ground. And to me, on a relative value basis, it's just incredibly compelling. And that's where I fall on that.
Oh, hang on. Whoa, it's getting hot in here, brother. Woo-wee. You're bringing the fire. And when you bring the fire, what usually gets ignited? It's dropping bombs. I 100% agree. And some of the research, I'm going to just add this to you as well. If some of the population projections that I've seen about Alberta is they're forecasting in the next 20 years of adding 2.1 million more people, which is a 48% growth rate. That same number of the same time in Ontario's half that at 24%. And they're also forecasting that Alberta is going to be more populous than British Columbia in the next 20 years, that it will be the third most populous province in the country. Whether that number is right or wrong, more people are coming in. And when more people come in, you need to have more housing to supply the people. So what did you think about today's episode? Didn't we go into a lot of in-depth information, in-depth insight? And Ben is just such a wonderful resource for the real estate investing community. And as I mentioned in the episode, I just about fell off my chair when a couple market researchers out of Ontario were calling for the Alberta marketplace to be the hottest place to invest your capital at the moment. Alberta and Edmonton are open for business, and there are tremendous amount of investment opportunities if you know what you're doing. I see a lot of people making some big mistakes just jumping into the market. So if you'd like not to make those mistakes and have a stress-free experience investing into the Alberta marketplace, I'd highly encourage you to book a consultation right now. There will be a link in the description below if you'd like to have one of these one-on-one consultation sessions. All right, everybody, have yourself a wonderful day. Bye for now. Well, I sure hope you enjoyed that video. 2 simple things to do from here. If you're interested in continuing your journey, interested in continuing to become a successful real estate investor, just below where you're watching this, there will be an opportunity for you to subscribe. And if you're interested in continuing your journey, there is a hand-selected video over here for you. It's been hand-selected for you to keep your journey going forward. Thank you very much.